here you are 4 years later, you've written a book, and part of the reason that you've written the book is to talk about the fact that you think the Democrat Party is controlled by, in your words, woke warmongers.
Yes.
You stood in for Tucker Carlson on his show. It's been quite a journey in a very short period of time. You know, the concept of the red pill. You seem to have taken the bottle and been swigging away for some time now. What happened?
You know, I've always been a very independent-minded person. When I was first elected to Congress in 2012, I was surprised by what a huge welcome I got from not only leaders in the Democratic Party in Washington, but, you know, a lot of big figures in the mainstream media and so forth. I didn't have any party support or backing or anything at all as I ran what was a very tough race for Congress. And so, you know, to be invited a week or two after I was elected to go and speak at the National Democratic Convention during prime time was unexpected. Great opportunity. But while I was there at the convention, I was surprised because there were people, oh, Tulsi Gabbard, she's the rising star of the Democratic Party and all of this stuff. In hindsight, looking back, it was like, okay, well, I checked a lot of the, you know, kind of the identity politics boxes.
You think it was about diversity? That?
Yes. Yes. And I think that they thought that, and it continued, you know, I was invited to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think the first year I was there. And I remember walking out of votes one day, and one of my Republican colleagues who'd been in Congress for at least 5 or 6 years before me, he's like, Tulsi, like, what's going on? He's like, I've been here much longer than you, and I've never been invited to that. And I like, I don't know what this, okay. I don't know. I was like, you go, you can go if you want. But I think that they thought that I was going to be someone who was drawn into kind of the red carpet that they laid out before me and would allow myself to be a puppet or allow myself to just be someone who will follow the talking points and kind of cheer the rah-rah lines that everybody uses, but very quickly found, even within the first 6 months of my being in Congress back in 2013, that was not the case. The first turning point, and I get into this in my book, For Love of Country, how when President Obama announced in the summer of 2013 that he was going to come to Congress and ask for authorization to go and launch an attack in Syria, in what would become kind of the first big volley of a regime change war there, I was, after doing my analysis and doing my due diligence, I was the first Democrat to come out very strongly in opposition to President Obama's proposal and gave very well thought out reasons why, both based on my experience as someone who had been deployed to the Middle East twice in the military, but also I served on the Foreign Affairs Committee at the time, and I, you know, did my research, went through all of the briefings, and really actually sincerely listened to the case that they were making and concluded that this was not, that this would lead to yet another quagmire in the Middle East with no clear objective and no case for why this was in the best interest of the American people. Immediately got a call from the White House, basically in essence saying, how dare you go against your president? How dare you go against your party? And that was the first of what would become many of those kinds of decisions where the Democrat elite realized, like, okay, she's not going to be one of the people who just, you know, go along to get along, climb the political ladder to try to advance her political position. And so, you know, going down the path there of my run for president in 2020, you know, I was making the case to the American people in two main ways. Number one is that the Democratic Party needs to go back to being the party of JFK, needs to go back to being the party that really sought to bring Martin Luther King's dream to life, being the party of the little guy, the party that celebrated free speech. And what I saw through that experience and what I personally experienced was that the Democrat elite had no interest in any of that and were directly hostile to that kind of change that I sought to bring about. I also spoke
Tulsi, can I just interrupt you there?
course.
Why are they so hostile to that change? Because The way you're saying it, I go, well, that makes complete sense. And it would actually make the party far more electable because you're appealing to the ordinary man and woman on the street.
Which increasingly over time, you know, a recent Gallup poll showed 43% of Americans are not affiliated with either party. They want control and they want power. That is what drives them, and that's what motivates them, even at the cost of undermining the Constitution and taking away basic fundamental freedoms like freedom of speech and freedom of expression. They want to be able to control who has a voice and who doesn't. And they have increasingly escalated their the tools that they are using in order to meet that end.
Well, that's something that I think we can all see with our own eyes. But I think what's interesting about having you on the show to talk about it is you were on the inside.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, please don't be offended by this. I don't mean it as an offensive question. Do you think you were naive going in? Do you think
there was a bit of naivete when I made my decision to run for president. I figured like, hey, look, I know this is a long shot. I am the definition of an underdog in this race. There's no way I'll be able to raise the amount of money that a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris would be able to raise. But I thought at least in this democratic republic, at a minimum, I will have just as fair a shot as anyone on that debate stage to make my case to the American people and allow them to do what we do, what we're supposed to do in this country. They will get to make the decision. That's it. That I discovered that to be a false assumption the day I announced my candidacy. The very day I announced my candidacy, as I was walking up on the stage to make that announcement in Hawaii, NBCnews.com put out a smear piece on me, started planting the seeds of suspicion and doubt, like, oh, there's something weird going on with Tulsi Gabbard. The Russians are really interested in her. And this, of course, became something that was a common refrain, not only for me, with Hillary Clinton and many others calling me essentially a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, but it's something, it is a tried and true playbook that they continue to turn to. Obviously, they did it with Donald Trump in 2016. They do it with Tucker Carlson. They do it with Bobby Kennedy. They do it with anyone who they deem as a political threat. And so what I saw throughout that experience on the debate stage, for example, it happened the first debate and in every debate after that. On average, in a 2-hour-long debate, I got about 6 minutes of speaking time. And it didn't matter that after that first debate, I was the most searched candidate of the night, which is what I had hoped for. The same happened again with the second debate. Nothing changed. It just got worse ultimately. So not only limiting the exposure of different Democratic candidates to voters through limited time on the debate stage, but actually working in a concerted way with big tech and the big mainstream propaganda media to control what information voters saw about the candidates that were running in that election, really revealing in real time. You talk about a rigged system. This is what a rigged system looks like. You can say, well, voters are the ones who make this decision. But you've got to understand the context with which they're making that decision. If the information that they're getting when they type in who is Tulsi Gabbard and Google decides to push certain information that is less than flattering at best, but complete false accusations and smears, which is what they did, then, they're tilting the scales. When you have CNN, for example, every candidate running for president at that time got at least one televised town hall on CNN. Most had multiple. I had one. And I didn't find out until a friend of mine called me and they said, CNN has a digital library where you can go and rewatch these town halls of the different presidential candidates. Why isn't yours on there? Well, they obviously took it down. And I was the only candidate who had a town hall that they actually took that down off the library. So it was little things and it was big things that made it very clear. They had made the decision of which candidates were acceptable to them for the American people to choose from and which were not.